well, I'm just gonna beat you guys by not giving up. 90% of my sales are coming from long form content on YouTube.
Gotta walk the walk and not just talk the talk. The only thing worse than not reaching your dreams is actually reaching your dreams and noticing nothing has changed.
Conclusion of this podcast is like, you're gonna make mistakes, but don't be afraid to make those mistakes because you learn a lot of valuable lessons from that.
Mr. Kyle, you have been praised by many people as the new international dating coach, the new hope, the one brand that is going to take over all of them. I remember when we worked together, we got you up to 100K plus a month together with your team. You're firing in all cylinders. What's your secret, man?
I mean, it starts with Max Tornow. Man, I mean, what's the secret? Hard work, bro. Hard work, consistency, you know. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot more than I was expecting when I first got into coaching and just being passionate about wanting to help dudes. And it's like the further I go down this hole, the more I realize, like, man, there's so many different levels to it, and it's been a journey. At the same time, I feel like I'm just getting started, and man, I'm just excited. I'm excited for what the future holds. I'm happy with the progress I've made, and I'm just like locked in right now, dude. So I don't know if there's like a secret. I think it's a bunch of different things, you know?
I mean, I could see that too. And here's something that is really interesting about you. So most dating coaches I see, they get into the business because they're great with girls, right? They're they're all like a little bit, the charming guys. They got their game. You had that too, no question about that. But most guys cannot step up from that player role into business owner role. From that, I'm just a fun guy who's joking around getting all the girls on the night and the evening or whatever, to I gotta fucking step it up and be serious on the business side. It's that juxtaposition of the jokey funny guy to I gotta manage a team, I gotta hire a team, I gotta be on point. You did that, and that's like 1% of the people I see that actually did that. We have one other client that we got to 100K a month in the German speaking market. He's also an exception. Usually dating coaches, they make their 10K a month and then they're just like, I am the shit. Now I just go to the gym and talk to girls all day and make some money. What was it for you that made you want to become that other person in the business realm?
Yeah, I think where it starts was really the whole reason I got into it to begin with, because I never felt like I was that dude that started the channel to validate his ego and like prove to the world that I'm getting girls. Like, I literally started the channel to help men and to coach men. That's kind of why I named the channel Coach Kyle. And so I think even from the jump, my perspective or mindset was different than like a lot of the other dudes' why behind like coming into, I guess, like social skills and social dynamics. So that definitely influenced part of it. I mean, this was something me and you talked about when you first started coaching me, was that like, it's not just some run around, have fun with all these girls kind of a thing. Like, it is a fucking business. And I think just part of evolution as a man and trying to become a high value dude, like there is a lot of characteristics like leadership and obviously making money is a big part of that, having financial freedom. But I mean, dude, there's like so many different things. And I'm trying to think about like, what's the one thing? I mean, my mind's like racing. There's like so many different areas to it. But I think honestly, it's just like maturity to some extent too, right? Like at some point you got to realize like it's not just about getting fucking women. Like once you get to a certain amount of girls, it's like, all right, like I have that part handled. Let's get back to why I'm fucking doing this, right? And it's like, it's about helping people. It's about like shifting the culture and influencing like ideally like a generation of dudes to become the best version of themselves. And you can't do that if you're just fucking around trying to like satisfy your ego the whole time. And I also think part of it is like, I don't know. I mean, I always just liked a challenge. I like growth. And I noticed that as I got further and further into the business, and I became passionate about sales too, actually. That's another part of it. It was like business and sales.
Me too.
Like, yeah, because it's a new challenge. And they actually are very closely related too. Like social skills and sales and business and branding and marketing. Like a lot of the comparisons I often make, even in my coaching, is like, yo, it's a sales funnel. There's marketing, there's conversations, there's conversions, there's retention. There's a lot of validity to the comparisons. And so like, to me, it was a similar yet new challenge that can make you extremely profitable at the same time. So there's like this other side of fulfillment, as well as like I think a lot of dudes that get deep into pickup and they do hit a certain level, almost all of these guys, like the next missing piece is the money. Typically, like what I see is like, if you're the guy that really got into that, you probably weren't that confident. You probably didn't have that much stuff going on in your life. And so like, once you start getting success with this, it becomes very clear to even go to higher levels in dating too. Like you do need to fill out the other pillars simultaneously. So there was just so many different things that kind of pushed me more in this direction. And I think like, it took time to kind of like fall in love with that process too. But I can say honestly, like I love business, I love sales, I love the whole thing. The fact that I can combine all of these elements together is like a blessing in itself.
I mean, dude, it's almost like you almost like speaking out of my own thought process. It was exactly the same for me. First, this part where you mentioned the ego, like you can only gratify your ego so much. And that's where most guys get stuck in, just like the ego phase. Like, I have everything now, more. But for me, you know, my background's also dating coaching. It was also like, once I got there, like the dorky, short Austrian, and I would just be able to like be with models like way taller than me, way more beautiful than me, you know? And I'm like, okay, I got that now. And then I made the money and I'm like, okay, I got that now. And then I realized, like I always say, like the only thing worse than not reaching your dreams is actually reaching your dreams and noticing nothing has changed. So I'm like, okay, I got all that now, but it kind of like, whatever, it's kind of cool, I guess, but it's not like I'm like fulfilled now. And that is where, just like you said, this whole idea of like, I want to have a greater mission. I want to keep helping people. And I did with the dating stuff, and it was great. And that's what you're doing right now. And then I'm like, okay, now let's do the business stuff where we can help other people even more, and so on and so forth. And for me, that was that. And you're in the dating stuff, and that is your mission. And I could really see that, and that's really fucking cool. And then you get hooked on that idea of legacy, of like pulling other people up. You're at the top, you turn around, you extend your arm, you pull up the next guy that's behind you. And that's really, really freaking cool. And the last thing you said, which I also agree with, is like this whole idea of like, wait a minute, sales is just like game. It's just understanding the other person, creating a win-win, just, you know, coming up with handling objections, pre-handling objections, understanding the other person. And because that's what I do with my team now, right? As we're scaling to 8 figures, I'm like, I'm doing quality control of my guys, of my sales team. I make sure that the calls, and I'm like, yo, like this is just like this example when you're talking to a girl or when you're on a date. I'm like, I just draw these parallels all the time too.
100%.
But dude, it's been a while, man. When was the last time we talked? 1.5 years ago or something like that?
Probably, because I was in 2 apartments ago. So I moved to a bigger spot, and I just recently relocated to Miami. So it had to have been probably close to 2 years.
Give me a crash course. Give me a breakdown. What have you been up to the last 1.5, 2 years?
I mean, really just everything we were just talking about, honestly. It's like learning more about the sales team. I mean, making all the mistakes in my business when it comes to kind of like growing that, making the wrong hires, firing people, getting more dialed in with the sales process, getting more dialed in with the content. Went back to being closer a second time. I mean, it's been a roller coaster, honestly, but I feel like at the same time, like my understanding of sales and business is the strongest it's ever been. My team is the tightest it's ever been. I just moved both of my coaches to Miami as well, so we're actually going in-house, which was like one of the first things you actually told me like 3+ years ago. It's kind of like I went through all of these things just to bring it back to like, honestly, the foundational pieces, but they're a lot stronger because of, you know, like I definitely moved in a bunch of different directions to realize what almost not to do, and, you know, taking some parts of like obviously what to do. I wish it was just this fucking scale upwards, but I did learn a lot in that process, and at the same time, I'm the most confident in the business. I think we're the most profitable we've been ever too, and that's kind of where it's at. And I'm seeing the next level like right now that we're transitioning into like that next, I guess, step I've been imagining I was going to get to like probably a year or two ago realistically. But nonetheless, it's been a fucking awesome journey. The money's been really good, and that's pretty much like where it's at. I'm at a point where like we're the most profitable we've been. I think the team is the most in sync too, which is a big part of it, honestly. That was like a big flaw that I had in the last 2 years, was that I hired a bunch of people and my leadership skills were shit, honestly. Because I came into the business just like, I'm a coach, I want to help people, I'm a cool dude, I'm charismatic, I'm your boy. I bring people into the team like that, and then slowly you realize like, well, I didn't actually set the right foundations or the right expectations, and not everybody has the same fucking work ethic or hustle as I do. And so, yeah, I kind of built a team off of a subpar foundation. And as I continue to grow, I realized like, man, all of these pieces were slightly off. And so, yeah, I spent the last like 2 years kind of refining that, dialing it back in, brought the team out here now. I think, again, we're the most in sync that we've ever been. The sales process is the tightest. The business itself is the most profitable. And we're starting to see like the next level of where we could go to.
My man, I'm so happy to hear that, man. And also just from an outside perspective, just like the way you're talking about things, I can hear you've been through some shit the last 2 years, and you've been through massive growth the last 2 years. And that is to be commended, man. Like, you're a completely different person, man. Just speaking to you, and that's really fucking cool, man. That's really, really fucking cool. And that's not just the crazy tats you've gotten since then. We'll talk about that too.
How do you get the hand tats like you, bro?
With business, what I really noticed, it's like expanding and cleansing. These are like the two periods that you're always going through. Like you said, it's not just going up, expanding, but it's like you're expanding, you're hiring a bunch of people, whatever. You hire 4 new people, and then 3 out of those are not proper A players. So you're kind of trying to build upon these 4 new people. That's just a random number now, 4 people, right? You're kind of building upon these people, and then you notice the foundation gets shaky or it even breaks, and then you cleanse again. So you kick out, or they quit the 3 people that are not performing, but that 1 A player stays. And then you're like, oh, this is what an A player looks like. Now I get it. Then you hire another slew of people, and then more of those are A players, but they're still not all A players. So you're expanding again, and then you cleanse again. And then same goes for procedures, whatever, you're scaling really hard the sales process, and then the delivery is like, oh yeah, okay, that still works. It's good enough. The delivery is fine, but then you get a bunch of new clients in, and the foundation shakes again or cracks, and then you're like, okay, fuck, got to make the delivery now. It's always like expanding and cleansing, expanding and cleansing. But over time, your company, your foundation, like you said, is so clean, so squeaky clean, so fucking steady and sturdy that from that you can build upon it. And I haven't seen a lot of people who've done it without much drawbacks. Like, I haven't seen a lot of people that are just like, oh, we just scale it up, whatever. Like, usually there's always massive shit in there, the massive periods of just eating shit. So, like I said, man, but it makes you fucking stronger, makes you better. And you didn't fucking quit, like, dude, how many coaches do you know in the dating niche or any other niche that just fucking quit when things are hard?
100%, dude.
What?
100%. That's almost like, I feel like it was one of the main things is like,
exactly,
to really get good in any niche. It's like, okay, well, I'm just going to beat you guys by not giving up. And over the span of 5 years, 10 years, like by default, everybody kind of like else gives up at some point. So
exactly,
that's like, especially in my industry, I feel like there's a lot of people that kind of come and go. So for sure, yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, dude, it's exactly that. It's like, it's not even that the smartest people win with business. It's just the motherfuckers that don't give up ever. It's almost like the dumbest people. They're like too dumb to understand that it's time to give up. It's like, fuck it, we're just writing it out. I posted that on Twitter the other day where I said, it's not about who makes $1 million the fastest. It's actually who keeps making millions the longest. Because I've seen so many people with just like an ultra sexy offer, just lucky. I've been amongst these people like with the right offer at the right time. All this AI stuff, for example, or another offer that works really well in smaller niche markets is appointment setting. We got a client. We got him to $500K a month with appointment setting because it's a really sexy offer, and he's doing that in Germany in a smaller market where he's like one of the first people. and he hit 500K a month relatively quickly. But at the same time, I know if he doesn't now work really hard and stays humble for the next 2 years, it's just going to go down after a while. So everybody can kind of get lucky with a sexy offer like that, but the real skill is to just fucking stay relevant for a very, very long time. And the older I get, the more I notice that. What was I going to ask you? Oh, yeah. So one thing I saw you crush and really, really well and really pick up, metaphorically picking that up and in pickup is in the fucking niche, is short-term videos. I think you were the first or one of the first people in the dating niche that was really crushing it on TikTok and IG Reels, right?
I mean, I don't see too many people doing it, honestly, but I don't know. I've kind of taken my focus off of that because like what I've really learned over the last year or two by like diving deeper into the business, and this ties into like trying a bunch of different things, was really like 90% of my sales are coming from long form content on YouTube because of the algorithm, because of all the 300 videos I already have on there. A lot of dudes get recommended to my channel. They'll watch a video that sends them down this rabbit hole. And then before you know, they're like 3, 6, 10 hours deep into the channel and they're fucking prime ready to go. You know, they're pretty much just watching like long VSLs of my videos. They're all just call to actions to consultation call. That it doesn't hit the same as like, you know, hitting that reach on a short form piece of content. But I mean, obviously both are good, you know what I'm saying? But I did make the mistake probably a year or two back by getting caught up with the amount of views I was hitting on short form content and taking my foot off the gas on the long form. And really I was getting happy about reach and my numbers when I was, you know, a couple months down the road. I'm like, damn, like the business is actually worse than it was before when I was just going ham on the long form. So ideally, you know, like what we're working on right now is balancing both and you know, having quality on both of them. But that was definitely a mistake I made before, is getting caught up with the numbers versus the net and the bottom line.
Yeah. The vanity metrics, same for me. It happens to all of us. How big is your social media team? I mean, you're doing a bunch of videos per week on YouTube and Instagram and all that jazz. Like, how many people do you need in the back end to do that? And how does the shooting and editing process look like for you?
Yeah, so up until recently, I just had one editor, and this was a big flaw in the company too that I realized was like I was dependent on one dude, and I was so hands-on. Not that I was still editing, but I was very, very hands-on with the editing, and I had to learn recently. It wasn't until I moved to Miami like 8 weeks ago that I actually went out, hired a content production team. They came in, installed the lighting, the multiple cameras, and they have a whole pipeline of editors. So they have one dude who's just chopping. Then they have one dude who's just doing the text and the effects. Then they got one dude who's just music, and then one dude who's just doing the B-roll. So right now, all I need to do, and just to give you some perspective, that is about 10K a month, and they will do 15 long form for me on YouTube, as well as like, I think 2 shorts a day is the deal that we made. So I'm in a great position right now where I'm finally getting locked in, like really, really locked in with the filming and the process, because I can just spend about 30 minutes a day scripting out the content I want, and then I'll spend about an hour actually filming that video, which is anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes long, and then I just upload the raw to a shared Dropbox folder, and then they're pretty much just messaging me back on Trello, I think, when it's ready for review. And then I'm just on a walking treadmill reviewing the videos, pausing, making tweaks. And that's how we're kind of like queuing up. We have like 20, I'm really excited because fortunately enough, the business has enough momentum that's been carrying me over the last like 6 weeks. But right now we have about 20 videos on backlog and about 60 shorts on backlog. And again, the business has been doing, we're still hovering at around 6 figures with no content going out. So when we start releasing all of that,
when that kicks
I'm
in,
really excited to see what's going to happen, which is kind of tying back into the previous points of leaning out the team, getting everything super dialed, getting the profit margins like where it needs to be, noticing that, hey, we're still actually making consistent 6 figures, but also now putting in 10K a month into content and really about to just release all of that. And I'm expecting that should I mean, I'm being modest, but I really think that at minimum that should bring us up to about 200K a month is like what I'm shooting for.
I think so too. I mean, again, like if you're running off momentum making six figures right now, like with like crazy fucking nonstop posting, that could be one of the levers. As long as your team is ready for the more leads and just keeps performing in the same efficiency, absolutely, man. And dude, it's so funny that you mentioned the walking treadmill. I'm like, everybody, and to be fair, I don't know if I was the first one who did it. I think I kind of
I think I did get it from you, like subconsciously, because like back when I hired you, like you would run the lectures from the treadmill, and I remember thinking like, man, this dude's got a good setup.
It's like we have this running joke of like the 2024 entrepreneur starter pack, and it's like walking desk treadmill, steak for breakfast, sparkling water out of glass bottles, blue light blocking glasses, like the whole fucking thing. And it's like everybody, and I'm so hyped. So, and the other big game changer next to the treadmill is the studio thing. Just like you said, like you hired someone, they came in, they set the studio up, and that's exactly what I wanted to, because I used to be situated, be based in Kiev. Then the war started, and then I was like, well, fuck it, let's just travel. I put my whole team remotely. Everybody's now wherever they want. We got a bunch of people in Europe, South America, Asia. They're just traveled around, hanging out with their families. And I was traveling too, but I didn't have a studio. So shooting videos was like, hey, Mr. Videographer, come over. So he would drive from Slovenia to Austria, or wherever city I was in, we would fly in there together, meet there. Then he would like set everything up for like an hour, perfect the lighting, the sound check, right? And then he would we would call it wheelchair mode. He would like wheelchair my desk, wheelchair me in front of the camera while I'm like working. He's like, hey, camera's ready, let's go. And then I would speak into the camera. And now I moved together with my girlfriend, and now I'm like, she's like, let's move together. And I'm like, nah, I don't know. And then what they got me with was like, it was her and my business partner at dinner for New Year's. It was like just before New Year's, we all had dinner, and they were both just talking. So I got like the two biggest influences in my life, my girlfriend and my business partner, Robin, our CMO, Robin Bauman. You know him too.
Oh yeah, I know Robin.
And they're both just like, so my girlfriend is like, we should move together because this and this. And then Robin is like, you should move together because then you can get a studio and you can shoot videos nonstop and you'll be super productive, and we'll get you a treadmill there. And I'm like, you guys are right. Let's do it. So now I got the studio here, with the light thingy. We get the Star Wars thing in the background and the awards and stuff. So, and I got like 2 cameras, main light, side light. And I just sit down and I'm just like, press the record button on both, put the mic on, and I'm rolling. And the coolest thing is, I have a button here that makes this table go up. So if I want to, I could literally just shoot the same video on a treadmill because it moves the cameras with the table.
Dope.
And it's like the ultimate nerdgasm, freaking shooting videos nonstop there.
Well, I mean, dude, there's a lot of truth in what you just said, because like literally I put the mic on, I got the record button on the remote, the lights turn on, and like I'm good to go, because like the more frictionless you can make that process, I mean, you got to streamline it, because like if you got to fly somewhere, you got to call some dude. By the time they set up the cameras, especially if your communication isn't good, like you're not in the social flow, the camera's on you all of a sudden, like there's all these reasons to not do the thing, And so I have this fucking light, you can't see it right now, but this light is like mounted to the wall. The cameras are mounted to the wall. It's like damn near blocking the front TV. But that's okay. I want to be able to just sit on my couch, press a button, and I'm just going right into it. And if I could do that consistently, I'm a lot more likely to put out the content, and that's the primary driver of what's fueling the business, So
yeah. So it's similar for you too. Is like when you're in the mood to shoot, you got to be ready, and like even like a 5-minute delay of like, I gotta fuck the lighting. You're like, fuck, I want to talk right now. Like, dude, I'm fired up. So I totally hear you, man. It's funny that you have the same. Like when I want to talk, I want to talk. I want to like record. Let's go. Let's just like a horse in the just before the race. It's like ready to just open the freaking door and let me rumble. What made you go Miami? So I know a lot of people live in Miami. A lot of my friends. We got Jeremy Jeremy Aids living in Miami. We got King Keto's there all the time. I see Gregor Gallagher all the time, and now you also. What's going on down there, man? What's up?
That's interesting. I was actually just on a podcast with Brandon Carter a couple
Shout
days
out
ago
to King
too.
Keto.
Actually, yeah, shout out to King Keto. And I just ran into Sam Matheson too, former coworker of yours.
That is epic, man. Let's go.
He just moved here too. He moved here yesterday, actually. So
Dude.
I don't know. Everybody's coming down here. I didn't have any particular incentive to be here. Although I will say, if you're trying to network, man, I just walk down the street and like there's people of like similar, at least for my niche. I feel like for nightlife, social life, networking, that kind of stuff, I think Miami is a hot spot, at least in the USA. I didn't really have a particular reason other than I spent almost 34 years in New Jersey, and I was like capped out, you know. So for anybody, if you're leveling up at some point, you don't necessarily need to go to Miami, but if you feel like your surroundings aren't pushing you towards growth and there aren't people like above your level financially or status-wise or whatever like you're into, like, I mean, for me, that was more than it was overdue, honestly. I needed to get the fuck out of there like 2 years before that, you know? So if anything, it was super overdue. And I had been talking about moving for so long with the team, it just kind of became this thing. Like we had our team passwords was like Miami 2022. It was Miami 2023. And I was like, it's not going to be Miami 2024. We're making this a fucking thing. I wanted to come out here at least for 1 year. You know, I'm in like almost the peak of my 30s. Like,
yeah.
I wanted to experience it at least for 1 year. And if I don't fall in love with it, okay, I could always go back too. Which is another great point just for dudes that are like afraid to start a business or they're afraid to move to a more challenging environment. It's like, yo, go do the thing. Like worst case scenario, it doesn't work out and you could go back to your life and it's all good. But I could tell you after being here for 4 weeks, like I knew the first week I should have been out here 2 years ago.
Sick man. I mean, 'cause you mentioned nightlife too. What's your life looking like right now? Because for me, once I stopped teaching dating and just focusing more on business, I was like, I kind of don't necessarily want to go out anymore. I'm a natural introvert. I threw a lot of parties myself where just I'm like the host. People would come to me. And even at the parties, I would be the first one to go to sleep. I would literally just be like sneaking backwards into my room, closing the door, locking it, and passing out while I would still hear the music. Super funny. But for you, you're still in the trenches. Like, do you still go out? How much do you go out? What does your daily schedule look like?
Yeah, so it's definitely been an adjustment. Ironically, since moving to Miami, I feel like I'm even more dialed in. I think it's just by being surrounded by beautiful people and warm weather, that is almost like more of a driving factor to stay more on point. At least maybe just for my age, because I could see if you're in your early 20s or you're just getting new to like partying and nightlife, like you could get lost here very, very quickly. But I mean, just to give you some perspective, I was up at 6:30 this morning on the treadmill for the first like 55 minutes of the day, kind of consuming some sort of motivational content, checking in on clients. I then took a cold shower, spent 30 minutes doing some reading, a little journaling, went to the gym, got a workout in. I mean, we started this podcast at 10:30 in the morning my time, so that's kind of like what my days look like so far. I would say Monday through Friday, I'm typically up between 6:30 and 7:30, the latest. I would like to get up even earlier. I just know that if I get up even earlier, the adjustment on the weekend's like fucking crazy. Actually, ironically, we were discussing nightlife in Miami is so crazy that we were discussing with my team, we should just get up at 3 a.m. every fucking day, because on Friday, Saturday, you could just go out you could wake up and start the day, just go out, get some social interaction for a couple hours, and then go into your normal fucking grind and be dialed in all week. I haven't made that transition yet, but that's a possibility we might experiment with. But please do that. So that would be kind of interesting. But so yeah, I mean, Monday through Friday, I handle my morning routine by typically like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. If I have team meetings, it might go till 11 a.m. Then I'm usually working on some content, whether that's long form content or filming some stuff for the back end for the clients and stuff. And then I usually run live coaching calls. Actually, I've moved my coaching calls back a little bit because I do like to get out of the house. Miami's great for that too. I've actually been less inclined to go out at nighttime because I can go out, I'll go out for an hour a day in the afternoon and get a shitload of social interaction in, honestly. And I deliberately do that as a means of getting some sunlight, getting additional steps in, and I still make it a mandatory requirement to go up to at least 5 people on that walk, and at least like a couple girls, like minimum. Not because I need like the ego or shit. It's just like I've made a decision that I'm gonna do that every fucking day. Since I moved out here, I'm on like day 34 of going out daytime every single day for at least an hour, and talking to at least 5 people, at least 3 girls, no matter what. And yeah, I mean, I said the same thing on Brandon Carter's podcast, is that like I don't do it for validation. I just do it because, I mean, I thought social skills and social confidence transformed my life in so many different ways beyond getting women. I mean, it's a catalyst for making my channel. It's a catalyst for me being able to coach men, to be a leader within my own company, to strengthen the relationships with my family, with anybody I talk to. And so for that reason, I've just made a decision that I'm going to do this fucking thing no matter what. And I have every reason to not do it, man. Like, I have every fucking reason to not do it. But I told myself, like, I'm not going to be coaching clients and telling them to go out and do some shit that I'm not even fucking doing. Like, that, to me, that's fucking fake. And so, yeah, I'm just committed to doing that every single day, no matter what. And because I believe in it. I believe in it a lot. And I don't want to, if I'm going to tell you to do something as a leader, I'm going to be doing it and going harder than you and working more hours than you. Because every dude who wants to join the program or is already in the program is like, I don't have time. And I'm like, dude, I'm working so much more than you. And I'm going out every day. And I'm going out at nighttime, and I don't drink any alcohol, and I'm asleep by fucking 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. What the fuck is your excuse? It's a pre-objection handle at the same time, you know? So I just spew the philosophy because I believe in it. It also enhances my mood. It's a nice break in the middle of the day to go out and do that. I come back, the videos are better. I'm just in more of a social flow. I can coach better. I relate to the clients better. And man, it's just like, it's truly become part of the philosophy of my own life. At least for the phase that I'm in right now.
Dude, I'm impressed, man. And it's so true. It's like you got to keep that sword sharpened, especially if you're in your niche. I see this too, not to call anyone out, but I see this with a lot of dating coaches out there. They're like, I have paid my dues. You know, I have approached for 5 years and I'm making money. I don't need it anymore. No, dude, like, your teaching will suffer from that. If you're not in the grind yourself, your teaching will suffer. I see the same for me with the business. Like, I'm still in the grind with my company, and it helps from the beginner clients that are making 0, they get 10K first, all the way up to the advanced clients that will help you to get 500K a month. Like, it's exactly the same. It's like, if I hadn't been in the grind over the last days, weeks, months, I wouldn't be able to be as sharp. It's like, you gotta keep that sword sharp. And like you said, it's like you embody that fucking philosophy yourself. It's your responsibility as a business owner, as a coach, as a leader, whether you're girl, boy, whatever. It's your responsibility to embody the very thing that you want the other people to do. I just had literally before this, I had a conversation with a client of mine who have a revenue share with them. So I'm part of the company. And I'm consulting him, and he said the same. He's like, look, my sales manager sucks. We need to fire him. And I'm like, hold off. Like, hold your horses. Why do you want to fire your sales manager? And he said, because the sales manager doesn't embody what I want to see in the rest of the sales team. Sales manager himself closes well, communicates well, all that, but he doesn't show up to the meetings on time. He sometimes shows up without his camera on. And I just noticed that some of the sales team, they also have their camera off in the meetings, and it's already transitioning in, like, it's already law of state transference on the team itself, and they're starting to behaving like that guy. So we got to get rid of him. And if I hadn't been in the trenches myself, I wouldn't have understood that. And then I would have potentially voted against that, and we would fucking continue with a subpar sales leader. So I love the fact that you're still super responsible, even though you're amongst the top, if not the top dating coach in the international sphere out there right now. You, dude, you have all the excuses in the world right now. You're fucking jacked, you're good looking, you got the money, you got the game, you got the girls. You have all the excuses in the world right now to just rest on your laurels and be like, I'm in Miami, motherfucker. I got the game, everybody's cool, I'm on top, I got the videos. You have all the excuses in the world to just stop improving, but you're fucking not. And that, to go full circle, is the difference between people that make a couple $100K for a year or two and then suck and quit, and the people who just make multiple millions each and every year for years to come and fucking stay at the top. And that's what you gotta fucking do. So, yeah, man, fuck. It's epic, dude. It's epic.
I mean, that's the mindset, because it's like, I'm not thinking about right now. I'm thinking 5 years from now. And it's like, you gotta do the shit to get to higher and higher levels. And it's like, I mean, damn, dude, there's like so much. I could go in like 15 different directions with the topics we're talking about right now, because it's like there's so much shit here. But like, I mean, yeah, everything you said is like so true. And back to the points I was just discussing, it's like, that's not just to be a good coach, I think, within my niche. I think, look, if you're starting a business, if you're trying to scale the business, you need to be that guy. And because the dudes that are below you need to be inspired and motivated by you. You set the fucking expectation. You set the tone within the company. And if to bring it back to what I was saying like an hour ago, is like, when I first hired people, I wasn't going nearly as hard. I wasn't setting the right expectation. I didn't set the tone. And that shit bled off into every other subcategory of the company. The coaches were doing a half-assed job. The closers were okay, because it was warm leads coming in that had been following me for a long time. But you know, as we continue to grow, and it's like either the leads get a little bit more difficult or they're not as warm, like, the sales team's got to be fucking dialed in. And I wasn't even that hands-on with the sales team initially, which was another problem. So like, it all stems back to the main dude and who's setting the tone, who's paving the way, because everybody's going to be following behind that guy. So it's like, if you're not going hard, if you're not assuming the role as like, I'm going to be the example within the company, just assume everybody's going to be at like 60% of like what the fuck you're setting, of the example you're setting, you know? So yeah, it's, I mean, it's so true. It's so much further beyond pickup, but like, yeah, you really got to be that fucking guy, you know?
You got to be that guy. There's no way around that. And it's so, it kind of sucks, because I feel like, you know the saying, marketers ruin everything. I've read it like many years ago. I can't remember who it was, Seth Godin or something. And it's like, especially when it comes to making money online, which is the niche that I'm in, but probably also the dating niche, which is where you're in, through the marketing, there's so many messages that are being sent out to the people that it's like, oh, it's so easy, and with this one thing, you can make it work. So it just creates this false expectation of like, everything should be fucking easy. And I was amongst that too. Like, I take full blame for that too. Our marketing with our beginner program many, many years ago, it's not anymore, but many years ago used to be, oh, it's so easy, it's so easy. What we do nowadays, I'm like, it's easy for me because I know how to do it, but you got to grind it out, and it's a legitimate business that will last you a lifetime. We literally try to almost disqualify ourselves, where we say, look, if you want to make a bunch of money easy, maybe go gamble on some crypto, maybe go make an IG theme page, make a little bit of money. Cool, it works, don't worry. But if you want to grind it out for a long time and build something legitimate that provides value to a lot of people and that lasts you a lifetime, and that you actually build an actual business, not just some random side hustle, then let's go fucking do it. And I'm much more confident and comfortable with that kind of marketing, because number one, it's much closer to the truth. It is the truth. And number two, it also doesn't get me the people into my program that expect easy. I want people in my program that are like, look, I'm expecting to be hard, but I'm willing to work hard, and I'm willing to build something legitimate that it can actually make me money for the rest of my fucking life, not just for like a month or a year or two, and then it just starts kind of tanking. I want to work with these people because they execute, they get better results. They, in turn, and also give me better marketing, because then they get great results, right? So yeah, this is exactly the same with Game Man. Now, was there for you like a specific situation where you kind of realized, oh, like I need to step it up, my team is not where it should be, or was it more like a gradual realization?
I mean, that happened in different tiers. It's happened multiple times. I think initially it happened because when I first started, I didn't know anything about sales. I went straight into high ticket with a sales team. So I brought on a closer and setters, and I knew nothing. That was when we first hired you, actually. You were like, you need a setter and a closer. And so we brought on a team that started closing because the leads were so warm, because I had spent years like already warming up my audience. They, I had people like just waiting for the offer to be in place. And so the sales team started closing. That, off rip, that took us from like took me from like 10 to like 50K, I think, over the first couple months of working with you. I can't even remember the exacts at this point. It's been years, but so that happened, and I spent 6+ months in that structure. And at some point, I started looking at the profit margins and what was going on, and I was like, damn, I'm giving up this much money, and I don't know fucking shit even about like what's going on in the business. I feel like I don't even have ownership of what's going on in the business, or at least like awareness of what's going on. That was concerning to me at some point. Like once we got it off the ground, I was like, okay, like I'm in the dark about like what's going on here. So I dove further into it. And then at some point I realized like, yo, I think I could do this. Like, I don't think I need this team to do this, at least not to perform at the level that they're doing. And so at some point it made more sense for me to let some of these people go. I stepped in and started closing. We brought on one setter. And then I started getting really good at sales. I hired a second mentor who was just reviewing my sales calls, helping me with closing. And over the next 6 months, I finally hit like a new level in terms of profit and stuff. Then I felt like I was getting a little burnt out with sales at that point, because I guess I didn't fall in love with it up until that point, because it was more like this leaking bucket that needed to be patched up, and that's why I came into it. And so I feel like once I filled the hole, I was starting to burn out, had a bad mindset about the whole thing back then. And I then brought in a new closer. And that's where I fucked up, really, is like I brought him in when I wasn't already the lead example of what he should be resembling within the sales department. I was doing kind of a half-assed job because the money was really good. It was justified that I was already good. And so when I brought him in, he kind of, again, performed at like 70% of what I was doing. And so we rolled with that for a while. I was relieved of doing the sales calls, but over the next 6 months, I started seeing the numbers going down and down and down. And then I hired another mentor who taught me a bunch of stuff. I've hired like 5 different mentors since we've worked, and I've taken away 1 or 2. I'm really big in mentorship. Like, I practice what I preach with my own clients. Like, find somebody who's doing what the fuck you want to do, and you look up to that person, their lifestyle, and hire them, or put yourself in a position where you can be around them. And so I did that with like 4 or 5 different gurus. And one thing I did notice, back to what you were saying before, is that everybody's got their own method. Everybody's trying to put you into their own system, plug and play type system. And so I definitely fell victim to a couple. Maybe it was my fault for just kind of like impulsively hiring the next mentor, but I definitely overexpensed and moved into like 3 or 4 different directions. In hindsight, it wasn't that bad, because I made a lot of mistakes. I had to dial those things back, and then I took away 1 or 2 good things from each person I worked with. But eventually, I got back to a point in about 6 months ago, towards the end of 2023, where we had 2 closers that didn't even have full calendars. We had 3 setters that, again, we didn't have the lead flow for that many people. I was spending on a daily basis analyzing sales calls for dudes that I didn't train properly, and they were underperforming, and it was all my fault. So I'm getting triggered watching the fucking sales call when it's really my fault for not even like, I put people that weren't qualified to be in these positions, and I'm overexpensing money, getting pissed off and triggered reviewing sales calls. So it's a very frustrating process when you're burning money, watching the people you pay waste your money, and you're getting triggered in the process. You're literally watching them blow the money live on a recording. So it's like, yeah, it was definitely a frustrating time to some extent, on top of all the other elements of a business. That's not including content, coaching, back end, all this shit. And so at some point I was like, you know what, I fucked this up. I need to go in and fix this. And so we dialed everything back. I had to let some people go. I stepped in as the closer, and it was just me and the best setter, and we kept it super tight. And I had to redefine the sales process within our own company. And so I would say that probably took about 2-3 months to really get to a great place where I was the most confident I've ever been with the closing process. Then we dialed back in the content, and now I'm in a position where I'm really, really confident with the sales and the marketing and the content. And as this thing continues to grow, I'm now putting in the scopes of work and the procedures in place to properly recruit somebody who can now come in and will work alongside me over the next couple months and really make sure like he's fucking dialed to ultimately transition him into the closer position. So, man, that was a really long-winded rant. I don't even know what the fuck the question was.
I can't remember either, but it was good, man.
I'm just talking about, you know what it is? I'm just talking about like my ups and downs throughout the business and like the process I had to go through, I guess, to assume the leadership role. That's what it was. You asked me at one point, was there one main point where you realized like I need to step up in the team, or was this like a gradual thing? And so I would say the initial point was when it was just the sales team and I realized I'm over expensing. That was a moment I needed to step up in the team, got back into the closer position. 6 months down the road, I realized I brought in a closer, cool. 6 months after that, I realized, okay, well, honestly, I fucked up and I need to step up again. And honestly, in the last 6 months with the coaches and with the clients and the fulfillment side, I realized I need to step up again too here. And so, yeah, it's been this gradual thing, and it makes sense because at each level, there's going to be something different that's demanded of you. And maybe I'm just like very ambitious. I don't know what it is, but I've always wanted to step up to that next challenge and become that guy for my team. Obviously, to some extent, for the money and also for the clients and for anybody that follows me that wants to transform their life too. So I've just been like fully committed to the process, and it's a mindset. It's like you don't go in trying to make a quick buck. You go in with the mindset of like, yo, this is going to be a journey, and I'm going to level up massively every step of the way. But I'm committed to sticking into the journey because it's going to be extremely fruitful as we just keep growing. And I mean, dude, that's what I got on tatted on my hands. It's called amor fati, which means love of one's fate. It's like commitment to the journey, you know? And that's why I'm thinking 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And to transition to what you're talking about of you making that transition from dating to business, like as I keep growing my brand and I'm building up my own coaches, and I've built up some of my clients over the span of years, guys that are still working with me, I'm noticing all of these dudes below me, they're trying to build their brand. They're trying to make money. And so I naturally find myself in my own teachings expanding out of pickup into, yo, this is what like a masculine alpha dude would do. This is how you have those uncomfortable conversations, whether it's with women or with your employees or with your friends. You got to set the tone of like how people should be like communicating with you. Or, yo, if you're actually that confident and you look good and your communication's on point and you got girls in your life and you want to make money, like you got to be doing these things. So I've even noticed within myself over the last 6 to 12 months that my teachings everything is going outside of just women. Because that's really what it is. It's like you might get into it for that reason, but the deeper you go into it, the more you start to realize it's all of these pillars. And I find myself naturally starting to expand my coaching into this is how you would build your character so much that you could even make money off of it and be financially free and get the women simultaneously. So, you know, I've been even considering that once I do hit these next couple levels and we have the infrastructure in place, I know there's so many dudes who would also want to know how I hit 500K subs on YouTube and can make a 6-figure a month business off of that. So that could be something else I start stacking on down the road.
It eventually always trickles into branding,
right?
Business, leadership. When you're getting into the dating niche, of course, provided that you keep growing and you're not just saying, fuck it, I'll stop 10K. And it's cool that you said, I literally wrote that down as you said it, because I'm like, that is so accurately put. It's like when you're quality controlling someone that is not an A player that you allowed into your company, even though you kind of somewhere on some level knew that they weren't the right fit, you're not getting triggered by them. You're getting triggered by yourself having hired the wrong person. And I'm like, because I nodded so much because that's where I was as well in the beginning. Just like, I just wanted the position covered. Fuck it. Let me just get that person in so I don't have to deal with the hiring anymore. And then what follows is just like 3 months of getting triggered every day. And then once you realize, like once you hire an A player and you're like, this guy has never triggered me. Like this guy is just a joy to work with. Like I give him feedback on one thing and that thing is being implemented for the rest of his life. And you're like, oh, that's what it's supposed to be. Well, fuck everyone else. And then you got like you got a definition, you got an archetype of the kind of person you want in your company. It's almost like you got to feel and experience that once to then only just compare him with everybody else. And then you're like, oh, okay, so that's an A player. Okay. Unless they're at that level, I'm not going to hire anyone else. And then, like we said before, it's like you slowly cleanse your company of the B players. You take B player out, A player in. And the funny thing is, too, this is probably something you've seen, too, is like you'll realize that it's not even 1-to-1 ratio. It's like one B player goes, one A player goes in. But it's more like you fire 3 B players and you hire 1 A player that now does the work of 3 B players. So it's not even like you got a bigger team. It's like you got a much smaller team, but you get the same shit done, which is absolutely fantastic.
And the beautiful thing about that is when you got that one dude, you could pay him more. So he's more bought into the company too. Instead of trying to break this down into like, you get 3-4K, you get 3-4K. It's like, no, let me find a stud who I could happily pay this guy 10K because he's fucking worth it, and he's happy too.
Exactly. And this is what you got to do is like overpay the right people and you'll still be much more profitable than underpaying a bunch of B and C players. That's like really, really, really key. Like I'd rather overpay one dude that's crushing it than underpaying fucking 3 people. And as I'm saying this, one of my closers just closed the third close for the day. Basic example. I happily overpay that guy.
And having those A players around you is another what's the word? That's another piece of leverage for you to level up more too. If I'm surrounded by C players that are barely making money, I'm not motivated. I'm pissed off. None of them are making that much money either. They're not that motivated. When you got a tighter team that's making more money and they're actually studs, that energy just bleeds off and inspires you. Like I've been inspired by my coaches. Not that I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna surpass me, but I'm like, yo, he's going hard. He looks up to me. I got to go even harder. And it's kind of like this upward spiral where you're feeding off of like that energy too. So that's a really good point too.
Exactly. And it inspires you. Plus it's like, okay, man, I want to keep this guy in the company. Like I better fucking step it up too. Like, okay, shit, I'm supposed to chill tonight, but fuck it. I want to impress this A player dude. It's almost like this like positive, this like positive competition of like, this motherfucker keeps closing, man. I was going to take an early day off today. Fuck it, man. I'm going to grind it out just to kind of kick some ass there. And that's what you want. You want this kind of positive banter, positive competition amongst everyone in the company. That's how everybody keeps crushing, man. It's so fucking cool, man. One thing that I wanted to ask is like, what's your living arrangement now in Miami? You live alone, or you have some people from your team here, or are you still together with that girlfriend that you used to have? I can't remember. Would love to know.
Yeah, so I'm still with her. We had a lease in New Jersey that was supposed to go until October. It is still going, but I just didn't want to wait. I couldn't wait another year to like make the move. And so I was like, I don't care. Like we'll keep the lease there. She wasn't ready to just completely up and leave. She wanted to get situated out here. And so we have both. And she's been kind of bouncing back and forth. I even went back once or twice too because my family's out there. We have we got like 3 animals out there too. And so we have both spots. But I got a 2-floor, 3-bedroom spot here. So I'm turning, one of them's a guest bed, but it's also kind of an office, and the other one's just strictly an office. And then I primarily work in the living room area, like right here where I film and take my calls. And so I don't have the team in here full time, but I do think it's important to be around them consistently, which is why I just made my second coach move out here too. He should be set up within a week out here. And for right now, we're playing around with 3 days in person for the first half of the day. So they come in early, we do a meeting, we'll do a coaching call review, kind of just shoot the shit as boys for the first like 15, 30 minutes while we drink a coffee, because I feel like they need that too. And then we go into work for a half day. They'll end up leaving. I have the second half of the day on those days to myself in here to like film content and stuff, because I mean, when these guys are running coaching calls, it's like there's a lot of energy in the fucking apartment. Honestly, it's a lot. But yeah, so I have them in here like 3 days a week, and then my girl's kind of back and forth, and I've been a little bit back and forth. flying has fucked up my routine and my work structure. And so like I told my girl, I came back here like over a week ago, and I was like, I'm not going back like anytime soon. I really want to fucking lock in and get this whole thing dialed, even if I need to just be here alone. Like that's fine. Like I'll do that if I need to. And so, I mean, that's where I'm at right now, and I can tell you like this is probably the best setup I've had. Because again, I've made the mistakes with this too. Like back in Jersey, the last apartment I had everybody coming in all the time. I had my video editor in the office. I had an intern. I had my coach in there full time, and that shit was triggering me too. Honestly, it was my apartment where I lived. So like it was a big spot, but it was I made that mistake too. And so, I mean, the conclusion of this podcast is like you're gonna make mistakes. But don't be afraid to make those mistakes, because you learn a lot of valuable lessons from that tighten up the foundation that really allow you to scale. Obviously, hire mentors because they're gonna point out a lot of the mistakes, but there are some mistakes that you do need to experience firsthand. Because even some of the things I've gone through are things you've told me back in 2021, I just mentally wasn't ready for some of them, honestly. Like one of the things I remember you said, what kind of fucking frat boy PUA fucking bullshit channel is this? And I was getting like triggered off of that stuff. Yeah. Because I was like, yo, this was my fucking baby. Like, fuck you, dude.
Same, yeah.
But honestly, like in hindsight, I'm like, dude, it makes total sense. Like it wasn't professional. I was attracting the wrong audience. The branding was shit. You know, like I couldn't justify charging a 4K price point back then, at least not to those dudes. But as I've continued to evolve over the years, I get some of those things that were initially discussed. Obviously, I extracted a lot of value from working with you, but there was a couple things, honestly, that I just wasn't even ready for at the time, you know? So I do think hiring mentors is great because they will point out a lot of the blind spots. I mean, your work ethic inspired me too. You giving me some structure and me just having that monetary financial investment was great leverage to take action more too. And so, yeah, all of those things definitely changed my mindset, fast-tracked my results, but also I did still make a lot of mistakes, and that's okay. Like that's just part of the journey. I'll still make more mistakes in the next year, but every year it gets tighter, the money becomes more profitable, the process gets more enjoyable too, and you know, I fucking love it, honestly.
Dude, it's that focus on, it's that frame you need to have of like, I love sucking. Like, I love the grind. I love the process. Because if you just love winning, it's going to be real fun. Like, you're only going to enjoy it for like 5% of the time. Because 95% of the time, you're just failing, aka learning. So you really got to mind fuck yourself into being like, I love being triggered by like advice. I love being stressed out by the lessons that I need to learn. I love being wrong because actually I know this is what gets me better. Because, you know, you've been there, I've been there. We've both been in periods of our lives where we were just crushing and everything was easy. How much did we fucking learn in those times? Not a lot. We were just like, I am the shit. I learned that I'm the shit, everyone. and then, you know, karma or the universe or God is like, okay, let's have this motherfucker eat shit for a year or two. Just so he learns, you know? And then we're like, at least that was the case for me, is like, the first like 5 months, I'm just victim mentality of like, why is it so difficult now? Why me? This is so unfair. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I forgot the reframe. And I need to frame the things that I get to learn. And I got to be grateful for the shit I got to go through. Grateful for the key personnel to leave. Grateful for the video not fucking performing well. Grateful for a shitty month. Like, I got to be grateful for these things because that's how I fucking grow. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 years later, you're sitting on a podcast and you're talking about it and you're like, okay, man, I figured this out. I'm much more confident now than ever before. I'm better at this. I'm better with that. I fell in love with the process. And that's how you fucking step the fuck up. And that's again, to go full circle with what we've talked about before, that is how you stay on top. Like, you cannot stay on top just by being fucking lucky. You stay on top by going through a lot of shit and then getting the fuck back on your feet. This episode is a lot of swearing. My apologies for the language, folks.
It's my fault.
Yeah, dude, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And you know what? So do you have the same where you strike me as someone who loves to work from home? Because a lot of people I know, they're like, I know two people. I know people that are like, dude, I just want to get up and just walk 2 steps to my working place and just hustle. And then there's people who are like, no, I gotta be somewhere else. I can't work from home. You strike me as someone who likes the from home working kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't know if it's because I'm naturally introverted, so I like having some kind of default comfort zone, I guess you could say. But I don't. I also think it's optimal for my business. Like if I'm trying to put out content, if I'm trying to run calls, I'm trying to be on a treadmill. I mean, I guess I could have an office set up somewhere and do all of those things, but I'm just like, yo, when I want to film, I want to film. If I'm going to take a call, I want to take the call from my couch. But also, I've built up the business enough where I got a fucking dope spot now. So like, I'm on the 45th floor. I got 4 balconies. My living room's popping. My bed's upstairs. I have enough space where if I bring a team in, you know, they're in their own little units too. And so for me, it makes sense, honestly. Like I've considered having an office before, but I mean, you know, to each their own. I guess it depends on the industry you're in, like the type of people that you're working with and like what it takes. Are you going to be putting out content? Do you need to be like in a certain environment to do that stuff? And so for me, what makes the most sense is having this set up at home.
Same for me, dude. Same, like I would hate the fact that I got to go to the fucking office. Maximum that it's like across the street like I used to have in Kiev, maximum. But like I said, like so what I do now is like I get up with my girlfriend. She works as a nurse. She loves her job. Because to be honest, I'm like, hey, like, don't work. Like, I got you, right? And she's like, what the fuck? Like, I want to work. Well, what is this? Like, I don't need money. I just want to work because I love what I do. So she has to get up relatively early. She has to get up at like 6:30. So I adjusted my sleep schedule to wake up before her, like a couple of minutes before or half an hour before. So I can get up and already do stuff. Like while she's still like dozing off, still napping, I'm like walking straight from the living room into this room, and I'm like getting ready, head start. And then when I see her getting up, like I have breakfast with her and shit like that. And I like that. Like I could not imagine then having to go to an office, like having to put on clothes and jacket and walk over to the freaking office. It's time wasted, man. And like you said, like when I'm ready to go, I want to be ready to go.
Yeah. It's all about efficiency, I think. Like if you're gonna do everything that we just talked about in this podcast, like there's probably a lot of dudes that are listening to this that are like, holy shit, like maybe you're overwhelmed or intimidated by everything that we're talking about, because I mean it does sound like a lot of things. Like we're talking about content and sales team and doing all of this shit. So it's like, well, yo, if you're actually gonna be able to do all of that, like you really need to optimize your day. And a simple commute to the office there and back, like that one thing can be like over the span of 5 days a week, or if you're going to work every single day, like you just lost 7 hours of your work week because you have a 30-minute commute there and back, and you had to spend time putting on a fucking suit, and God knows what else happened like at the office too. So it's like, I'm all about efficiency. That ties back into the walking treadmill while I'm editing the video. I mean, I've taken consultation calls on the treadmill, you know? So like, like if I'm gonna be doing a free consult, like I'm gonna at least get my steps in while I'm getting paid. So yeah, I'm all about optimizing, man. Like I like to stack 2 to 3 activities simultaneously. If I'm gonna consume some content, I'm walking on the treadmill, or it's in the middle of my workout. If I'm gonna go out and socialize, I'm getting my steps in and I'm getting my sunlight for the day. If I'm drinking my coffee, I'm on the balcony, like fucking, working on my breath work at the same time, or whatever it is. So I'm all about like efficiency and structure, because that's the only way you could really, really perform at the highest level. Like a dude who's not doing that versus a guy, same industry, same mindset, same work ethic, but he does have that, that's going to put him 10% up on the competition.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, everybody that I see crushing does exactly the same. Every single one. Every person that I talk to on this podcast or privately, they're all like, of course I listen to audiobooks while I do XYZ. Like, what the fuck else would I do? It's like, okay, you're doing your daily walk, like, your brain's not doing anything. Listen to the audiobook, do your calls, go to a sales call, make some money. Like they always say exactly the same, like you said, like always do at least 2-3 same things at the same time. It shouldn't be 2-3 things that take each other's focus away. But when your body does something, make sure your mind is occupied, and vice versa. So same for me, like when I do stretching, I do quality control. when I make my breakfast steak in the morning, like the 4 minutes that it's searing on each side, I do quality control or audiobook or whatever. When I'm doing client calls, I'm most of the time on my treadmill until I have the 15K steps and all that jazz. I mean, Brandon Carter, you've mentioned him before, right? You were on his podcast. Like, he fucking bought, I don't know if you know that, he bought water-resistant headphones so he can listen to sales calls and audiobooks while taking a shower. And I'm like, damn it, how have I not thought about that, man? Like, that's such a genius thing too, you know?
Yeah. No, I didn't know he did that. That's cool. Although I will say my master bath, the shower is really big. So now I do put on some content from my phone, and I have a big enough shower that I could put the phone in like the back corner where it's not getting wet. But I think the headphones is next level for sure.
Yeah, that is absolutely next level upset. And the thing is, again, like, to go back to crushing, like, Brandon Carter has all the excuses in the world to just not work anymore. He's making a shit ton of money. He's got extremely sick physique. He's got the passive income because he invested in a whole bunch of assets that are giving him off fucking cash flow just beyond the business itself. He's got all excuses in the world to just be like, well, I'm good. Right? Like, my next 2 generations are secure, including myself. I'm good. But he goes even harder than anybody else. Like, I would argue that guys like Brandon Carter are hungrier than guys nowadays that got nothing. So that's the crazy thing. It's like, you think you're hungry and you're not even making 10K a month. You're not even grinding 16 hours a day. You're not even optimizing your sleep. You're not working blue light blocking glasses. You're not getting your steps in. You're fat and lazy. Right? It's like, I don't even buy it when someone says they want to be able to build a business and they don't have a six-pack on the side. I'm like, buddy, those two things they're feeding into each other. It's easier to have a six-pack and be healthy as fuck and make a ton of money than just slacking off on one hand just to be good at the other one. And then again, like, you say you really want it, and then you got people like Brandon Carter who are already at 8 or probably maybe even 9 figures a year, or at least multiple 8 figures a year, and this guy's out grinding you. Like, how come? How come the guy that already has it all is out grinding you and you don't even have 1/100th of what that guy has? So you gotta be, just like you said, man, you gotta be that driving force. You gotta be the person that works the hardest in your company, even when you already have a team, even when you have a CMO and all that jazz. Like, you gotta walk the walk and not just talk the talk. Damn. Whew. One last thing before we wrap things up, because we want to do your podcast as well after this.
Let's keep it going. Yeah, let's get it.
So, tattoos. So you got like 80% more than you had when I last spoke to you. So it's just the whole left leg.
Yeah, I literally just did this, actually. We did the whole, I don't know if you can see.
Oh, how long ago?
Like a month. So now that I have this room, my tattoo artist flew in and he just stayed in the guest bedroom for like a week straight. I was taking sales calls on the tattoo bed.
No way.
with headphones, and he gave me this numbing cream, which kind of worked, kind of didn't work. I mean, to be fair, I had already put in like probably 40 hours or so on my upper body with no numbing cream, and I was like, you know what, like, I put in my time, like let me make some money at least to pay for the tattoo while I'm getting fucking tattooed. So I was actually, I mean, I would still do my normal work day, but then we were going at it from like 4 p.m. till sometimes like midnight, and I was just laying on the bed either taking a call. I mean, I would take breaks, honestly. I wasn't. So, some spots of the leg are extremely painful. Like the back of the kneecap was very brutal.
Yeah.
Like probably the worst spot I've gotten tattooed, honestly, other than maybe like right in here.
Yeah, and the sternum. But, For me, the worst part was the inside of the arm here.
Yeah.
This.
You have all the way in the armpit or no?
Yeah, pretty much, almost. Not all the way into the armpit, but it's like right where the armpits start. And this was just hell. So you did the whole leg in like 2-3 days in a row, or what?
No, we did it over the span of 7 days, because honestly, like, the leg is just the leg is like as fat. You don't realize it, but your leg is like as fat as like 2 arms. Honestly, like my thigh is like fucking this, you know. So
but
that
you did
all
it
the way
in one
that all the way around.
Period.
Yeah, we did it in 7 days. 7 days straight. It's Monday to Sunday, which was fucking wild. I couldn't walk.
Did you, like, I remember when I got the arm in like 2 days, it was almost like I was sick. Like my body was really weakened. Like I was like, I'll just go to the gym or whatever. Like I was like tired for like 2 days as it was healing. Not sure if that's normal. Did you have that with the leg?
I had that with my upper body when we did like 5-6 days in a row. The adrenaline was being released so consistently that I was just like absolutely drained after.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is that like by using the numbing cream, it gave me relief in between certain parts. Like there was certain parts where it just didn't do anything or like it would wear off. But the times in between that kind of, I actually was like somewhat numb, which allowed me to actually keep going through. Like I don't think I would have, there's no way in hell I would have been able to do that whole thing straight through if it wasn't like using that cream, which is essentially just some cream you get off Amazon. It's got like 5% lidocaine in it. You put it on for like 2 hours beforehand. You're actually numb. And it keeps you pretty numb probably for like at least a solid 4 hours. Problem is we were doing such a long session that like we would start going beyond the area that was numb, or that part would fade off like later on in the day. But that allowed me to keep going, honestly. So yeah, but we did the whole leg. That's pretty much all that I've gotten since I was with you. I guess we did the hands.
The hands, yeah, legs, you didn't have those. Yeah.
Yeah, everything else was already there. So
did the leg swell or anything like that?
Super swollen. Yeah, super swollen. I couldn't walk. I was limping around afterwards, and even 2 days in, because we started at the ankle, my foot was just fat. I had a super fat foot that we had to start putting a double compression sock on because I was getting worried that my foot was just looking crazy. But yeah, I was using that. I was taking naproxen to bring the swelling down, and then the numbing cream. Dude, it was a whole fucking thing, honestly. But you know what it is? Like, you spend so much time getting tattooed, it's honestly not, like you lose so much time. Like you need to fucking numb it or just blast it out if you actually want to get that much ink done, or you do in tiny bursts over, the course of an extended period of time. But,
yeah, same. I was
it's
also
it's one way or the other,
Just get the arm done as fast as possible. Like I don't want to lose time going back and forth, and then healing. For me, it was like, because if you do it in small bursts, you can't hit the gym, and you gotta skipping like a week and stuff like that. So. Yeah, I also want to have it in one go. And do you want to keep the asymmetry of just the left one fully covered and the right one empty?
I think so. I think it looks good the way it is with the one. Actually, I actually tore my calf a long time ago. My calf and my ACL were torn, so my left calf is significantly smaller than my other leg, and so I was worried it was either gonna make it more exaggerated since the tattoo was there, or it was gonna blend it, and it actually blends it pretty well, honestly. So. It kind of evened it out in that sense, but I think I like the 1-in-1. I don't know how much more I could really do other than the back or possibly the neck, but I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I'm ready for all that. So I'm chilling for right now, dude.
Same for me, and this is coming from someone that got their fingers in their hands also. Neck is like, that's where I draw the line. I think maybe when I'm like older and like 60, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But right now, neck. My back is still free, and I also want to keep the asymmetry on my arms. So I have what you have on your legs, I have on my arms. So the right one is like 60%.
You do got some on the arm though, yeah.
Yeah, and then the left one is 100%. And I like that asymmetry. I think it looks looks so much cooler than just having everything covered. But yeah. I want to get matching tattoos with my girlfriend. We were thinking of getting the Jurassic Park quote, "Life finds a way." We both want to get. She has 0 tattoos. She's just like pretty girl. But for me, it would make a big difference. Like one more tattoo. So we're thinking of that. But
I was in the same position. I was in the same position with my girl because I was like, I'll get your name on me. I don't give a fuck. It's like it's just another tattoo. But for her, it's like this fucking crazy ordeal.
It's fun. Yeah, for us, it's just like, hey, whatever. It's just like, where do you want to put it? I don't care.
I was like, I got a little space right here. We can throw it in there.
Let's go, right? Anyways, dude, it's been a pleasure to have you on, man. Super, super cool. So also at this point for the listeners, if you want to have more of us, go ahead over to Kyle's podcast, While Beyond. So we're going to link that too. But if people want to reach out to you, they want to find you, where's like your predominant thing? How can I find you?
Easiest thing, just go on to YouTube, Coach Kyle. I got all my content over there. And from there, you could go even deeper. But I would just start there. YouTube, Coach Kyle.
Boom. Check him out, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being on the podcast, Kyle, and speak soon. GG.